right, here we go. Today we are starting 9.6. And this final method for solving is called the quadratic formula. In order to use the quadratic formula, your equation must be set equal to 0. Which means if that happens, it has to be in standard form. So, must be in standard form. So I want to remind you what standard form looks like. Remember, standard form was ax squared plus bx plus c, and that's going to be equal to 0. All right, now, as I write down this quadratic formula, do not panic on me. Do not panic. Once we learn to use it, it's super, super easy. Do not panic. Here we go. Quadratic formula is this. Negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yes. It's going to be fine. All right, so here's how we use it. I'm going to start example number 1 and how we use it. So here we go. Example number 1. I want you to solve using the quadratic formula. And we'll start off super easy. Let's say I have 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0. So this is already set equal to 0. I want to remind you that this is our A, this is our B, and this is our C. So one of the requirements I'm going to have for today is I need you to actually list our A, B, and C. So I want you to come over on the side and say A equals 2, B equals 5, and C equals 3. That way when I go to check your work, I see you know what those numbers are, right? So that when we're plugging them in, I know you understand that part. So now we're going to put it into this formula. So I have a negative b, which is negative 5, plus and minus the square root of b squared, so 5 squared, and it has to go in parentheses, minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So all we did was plug every one of those letters on the left in where they belong.
So we're going to get 2 answers?
All right, now, I want you to start by simplifying only underneath the square root. Okay? So I just want you to grab your calculator and type in 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. 1. So I'm going to put a 1 right above it. Again, that shows me that you calculated that right. Okay? Now, technically, it's going to be the square root of 1. So we have negative 5 plus and minus. What is the square root of 1? 1 over, and what is 2 times 2? 4. Good. So I actually have negative 5 plus 1 divided by 4, and I have negative 5 minus 1 divided by 4. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 4, negative 1. Good. Second one, negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6, right? Negative 6 over 4 equals negative 3 over 2.
Oh, so if we get a fraction, we have to simplify it?
You have to reduce it, yes. Okay? So, any questions out there yet? That wasn't so bad, right? All right, let's go with example number 2.
Is this all we're doing today, Shu?
Yes. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, but yes. Example number 2, again, I'm going to ask that you solve by the quadratic. All right, and our equation this time, let's say we have 4x squared plus 7x minus 15 equals 0. All right, so what is my A value? 4. What is my B value? And what is my C value? Negative 15. Good. All right, now we're going to plug it into the formula. We have negative B plus and minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A, which is 4, times C, which is negative 15, all over 2 times A. All right, so what's the first thing we simplify? Inside the square root. So go ahead and type that into your calculator, right? So you're doing 7 squared minus 4 times negative 15. 289 is what I get in my head, so try it again. 289, okay. 289. Now, we're going to be taking the square root of that 289, right? So I have negative 7 plus and minus 17 over 8
Well, I think 17 is the square root.
of 289, yes. Very good. So I have negative 7 plus 17 over 8, and I have negative 7 minus 17 over 8. Negative 7 plus 17 is 10. 10 divided by 8? 5/4. Very good. Negative 7 minus 17 is negative 24. Divided by 8 is negative 3. Very good. All right. Okay, let's go with example number 3. Do I have any questions out there anywhere? Okay. Example number 3. So this is what you are doing for 8 through 22. Solve using the quadratic formula. And let's go with 3x squared plus 44x equals negative 96. All right, so in order to use the quadratic formula, the whole thing has to be equal to what?
0.
Good. So what do I have to do? Evan, what do I have to do? Perfect. Add 96 over. All right, so I have 3x squared. I cannot add 96 to a 44x, so I have to write them separately. 44x plus 96 equals 0. All right, now, my A value is 3. My B value is 44. And my C value is 96. All right, so I have negative B plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. 784. All right, so underneath the square root, we got 784, which is 28. Good. So we take the square root of 784, it's 28. So we have negative 44 plus and minus 28 over 6. So we really have negative 44 plus 28 over 6. And we have negative 44 minus 28 over 6. So here's one thing I want to say. If you want to type that in your calculator to get the answer, you have to do one of two things. You either type the top line in, hit enter, and then divided by 6, enter, or you have to put parentheses around the top. Okay? So for the first one, huh? It should be negative, right? Because 44 is bigger than 28. Okay? And it should be 8 over 3. Very good. How about this one? Negative 12. All right. So what do you think? Okay, so here's a couple things I want to say. First of all, I didn't do an example where my b was negative, so I need to do one of those real quick. And then I'm going to talk about a couple things. We're almost there, all right? All right, so here is example number 4. All right, let's go with 8x squared minus 7x equals 5. What do you guys want to do first? Good. So we have 8x squared minus 7x minus 5 equals 0. The a value is 8. B equals negative 7 and C equals negative 5. Good. Now we're going to put it into the quadratic formula. So we have a negative 7, right? Plus and minus the square root of b, which is negative 7 squared, minus 4 times 8 times negative 5, all over 2 times 8. We'll get there. Yep. Yes. Yep. Part of the formula. Ooh, try again. $209 is what I got. Did you put parentheses around your negative 7? All right, so remember we're going to be square rooting this in just a second. If I have a negative and a negative together, this sandwich, so I start with a positive 7 plus and minus the square root of 209. Let's go 2 decimal places. 4, 5, 4, 6. 4, 6, all over 16. Are we okay here? So this is one that didn't come out as an exact square root, which is fine. Okay, I want you to go to 2 decimal places. So now we're going to do 7 plus 14.46 divided by 16, and 7 minus 14.46 divided by 16. So for the first one, I got 1.34. For the second one, I got negative 0.47. Make sure you get that. You understand how to put it in your calculator to find that. Do we have any questions using this formula? Okay. Moving on then. Example number 5, right? Example 5. This is 24 through 28. Which method would you use to solve and explain? All right, so let's say you get a quadratic that looks like this. Let's say we have 9x squared minus 16 equals 0. Out of all the methods we have learned, what method would you use to solve this?
I would use the one we just did, like, yesterday.
Yeah, probably.
So, like, I would divide 16 by 2, which is 8.
Is that the middle term?
No, it's 0.
It's already all set up. You know, I do factors.
You'd factor, okay.
I'd graph.
You'd graph.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't have that bx term, so I personally would do the square root method. But all of your answers are correct. So on these 3 problems, all you have to do is state what you would use. So I personally, since there's no bx term, I would do the square root method. So I just have to write square root method and my reason. There's no b term. Okay? You can choose whichever method. You just got to tell me why. All right?
There's no way people use this method more than the square root method.
Yeah, so if you have a b term, then, that changes things. All right, example number 6. Now I'm going to skip a few problems for a second, and I'll come back to them in a minute. It's one other thing we need to learn today. So, example number 6 is going to cover your 36 through 40. Solve using any method. So let's say I have k squared minus 4k equals negative 4. You can use that one. You can use the quadratic formula. You can factor it. You can do whatever method you want. Okay? I'm going to factor it this time. So I'm going to add my 4 over. So I have k squared minus 4k plus 4 equals 0. To factor it, I draw my x. 4 on top, negative 4 on the bottom. What are my sides? Negative 2 and negative 2, right? So we have x minus 2 times x minus 2 equals 0. When I factor it, what do I do with my factors? Yes, we're going to set them equal to 0. So I have x minus 2 equals 0, and another x minus 2 equals 0. So I get x equals 2. And I get another x equals 2. So in this case, how many solutions do I have? I only have 1, which means this quadratic, this parabola, would come down and touch the x-axis at 2 and go back up. Okay? All right. No. All right, last thing I need to talk about. We call it the determinant. The determinant is that section underneath the square root in the quadratic formula. Okay, that part I asked you to simplify first, right? That's the determinant. That is b squared minus 4ac. Call that the determinant. If that determinant is greater than 0, so it's positive, there will be two solutions. If the determinant, so b squared minus 4ac, is equal to 0, there will only be one solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, so it comes out to be negative, can you square root a negative? Yeah, can you square root a negative? All right, so that would mean we have no real solution. All right, so here is example, what am I on? 7, this will be our last one. Example 7. And this covers 30 through 34. Find the number of solutions. And let's say I have 3x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. All right, so my A value is 3. My B value is negative 4. And my C value is 1. So I start with my B. I have negative 4 squared, right, because I'm putting it into b squared minus 4ac. So I have negative 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1. Tell me what you get. 16 minus 12, I agree, is 4. So since it is a positive answer, how many solutions do we have? We will have 2 solutions. That means that this parabola would cross the x-axis twice. Okay, we don't know where yet, but we would know that it crossed twice. Yep. Okay. So I want you guys to get started. We still have 6 minutes. That way, if we have any questions regarding that quadratic formula, we can talk it through. All right? So let's get started.